with CAFE standards coming up, all of the automakers are really paying attention to MPG. And to them, it doesn't matter if the price of gas comes down. They know it'll probably go back up, and they have to hit these goals anyway. Let me bring in Jim Lentz to this discussion, because here's a guy who's running manufacturing for Toyota and pays attention to this stuff all the time. Consumers have kind of a short-term memory, but you guys have to pay attention to the bottom line as far as MPG all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you have to offer a broad portfolio. I mean, I heard you talk about the vehicles on display here. The drop in fuel prices has just been in the last few months. When we were planning what to show, what to display, none of us knew where that was going to be. It just happens to be that a lot of people were bringing out performance cars and trucks. And as you say, it's difficult to say. Over time, the price of fuel is only going one direction, it's going to be up.
And, I mean, you have a consumer who's looking at, say, a new Tacoma, excited about buying the truck. They see truck and they feel like they can do it now because the price of gas is low, although the Tacoma is a fairly fuel-efficient vehicle. People just don't, you may not be hitting that as a selling point right now.
Well, what's interesting is whether it's a full-size truck buyer or a mid-size truck buyer. Full-size truck buyer, I think fuel efficiency is about number 20 on their buying priority. It's a little bit higher on a mid-size, but it's not a key driver. Although this new truck is going to have much better MPG.
And mid-size trucks are so hot right now. How did that happen? I mean, it's all of a sudden a really heated sort of combat zone for the automakers, especially the sort of, I guess, big four, if you count Toyota as one of the American automakers.
Yeah, well, it's tough to say what the others were thinking. We've been in this business, never got out of the business. We've got a 60% share today of that truck. This is I think our 9th generation. And I think it's by far our best generation.
You know, I've been asking a lot of guys today about the euro, and in your case, the yen, because it's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Toyota or some of the German car makers coming into the U.S. But really, you have tens of thousands of employees here. You're doing so much production here. Does it affect you at all?
No, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of tailwind from it. But when you build over 70% in North America, 75% parts, it really doesn't have that much of an impact. And I'll tell you, too, if you look at the yen, it has weakened, the dollar has strengthened. I wouldn't necessarily say one is weak and one is strong, because if you go back pre-Lehman, the yen was right around 120, and no one was talking about how weak the yen was.
Right, there's been a lot of volatility since then, and I remember at 70, a lot of people were talking about it in the other direction.
It was a big headwind then.
Yeah. What does your manufacturing plan look like? A lot of automakers that are kind of new to the game from overseas getting into production over here. Toyota, of course, has been producing cars over here for decades and decades. Yep. Do you want to produce more cars over here? Are you exporting more cars from the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, we're exporting now to over 40 different countries. Just about every model that we make in the U.S. is now exported somewhere else. But, you know, obviously our production capacity is right around 2 million. As we see the market continuing to improve long term, we've got to make some decisions about whether we bring in more product from other parts of the world or whether we expand here in North America.
Ferdinand Piëch and Volkswagen hot on your heels as far as total production numbers, total sales numbers. It seems to be very important to them. How important is it to you to maintain the crown of the world's biggest car producer?
It's not. It really is not important at all. I mean, it's a benchmark, I guess. It's a way for you to measure how well your customers are accepting of your product. But in the end, the number is going to be what the number is.
One of the things I imagine obviously there are some benefits that come with scale, but there are also some drawbacks for sure. For example, quality control must be so much more difficult. You had recall problems before most other automakers on a big scale. How have you managed to avoid it this time?
Well, I think what was most important is we took a step back and re-examined all of our processes, made sure communication was transparent throughout the company, and we put a 3-year hiatus on building any new plants. Because we wanted to make sure that we had the processes in place, we were utilizing the capacity, and probably most important, that we had the human capital, the resources of people that could run these plants before we started expanding.
How do you feel about the way Takata has reacted to this? It seems to be, it's a very different way than Akio Toyoda reacted to his issues.
Yeah, it's tough to say because I'm not sitting in his shoes. All I know is we want to make sure that our customers are safe, and feel safe. And as an industry, I think we're all getting together to examine exactly what happened, what the fixes are going to be, so we are confident going forward that the customers are safe.
Away from Toyota for a second and focusing on your luxury brand, Lexus has a new crossover. That's the exciting term for a midsize SUV out. Are they going to regain the crown of biggest selling luxury vehicle in America? A lot of people don't remember they were for 11 years the top selling luxury brand in this country.
I'm not sure if they will. We sold over 300,000 for the first time since 2007. But a lot of what is luxury today was not luxury back when we had that crown. You've got a lot of low-end luxury below $30,000. And we choose not to play in that game.
Firing a shot across the bow of the Germans, Jim Lentz.
Well, but the NX is a great vehicle. I just picked one up as my car. And I'm driving NX Hybrid, and it is a tremendous car.
As far as hybrids go, I mean, obviously, it's almost synonymous to think of hybrids and Toyota. Yep. Prius has been such a massive win for you. Are you committed to electric gas powertrains? Is hydrogen a big part of your future? I mean, it seems like you're the great hope for that technology.
Well, I think the plan all along, I mean, when you look at the advent, when we started developing the Prius, the hybrid, we were developing fuel cell at the same time. And the plan was the short to mid-term was going to be hybrid, and the long-term was going to be fuel cell. And we still believe that's what it's going to be. I mean,
the infrastructure's not there, right? I mean,
the infrastructure's not there, but if you look at California as an example, 70 fueling stations in the right locations will give customers convenience of no more than 10 minutes to refuel and can handle over 10,000 vehicles in operation. So I think hydrogen refueling, you don't need to have 4 hydrogen stations on every corner like you do a gas station today.
I'm surprised you still remember California.
I do. I'm a Texas native now.
Just moved to Plano. Jim Lentz, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.